Good morning and welcome back to the One Celtic Fans View. It is Friday. We're going to do a preview of the weekend's game, which is Celtic versus the one and only Ross County, who are second bottom of the table. But there's a bit of Celtic news that we need to talk about first of all this morning. And there's a bit of devastating news as it goes for one player. And is this the perfect storm that we've all been talking about at Celtic? We've all been crying out for a player to come in and fill this position. And now that we have a player injured in that position, it's going to be a tough decision for Brendan Rodgers to make, because does he play the player that's been out of favour for the past couple of seasons? Anyway, let's move on with other Celtic news first. Brendan Rodgers revealed yesterday at the press conference about fan frustrations and the budget for each window and how much Celtic are likely to spend. And he was basically asked, and it was hinted at, would we spend the 15 million for the Liverpool goalkeeper, who's believed to be on a short list of goalkeepers for Celtic? I think there is absolutely not a chance in hell will Celtic ever pay 15 million pound for one player. Not a chance. They just won't do it. It's never going to happen. Any sensible Celtic fan will know it's never going to happen. But he was asked, is that kind of figure the type of money that Celtic could afford to spend? And Rodgers bluntly said, no. And that was it. He said, he then went on to say, it's very difficult. The money's there, but it won't happen. He said, if you bring in a player at 20 million, they're then taking 20 million in players' wages. That doesn't work for us here at Celtic. We're not in that ballpark, sadly. He says, when you look at the type of money that was spent on Jota, 6.5 million, Cameron Carter-Vickers, to bring in those type of players on a loan and then make them permanent, that's more the money that we're looking at Celtic. So I think we can put to bed the story of Celtic trying to get the Liverpool goalkeeper. They may be trying to get him on loan just to fill a gap and then try and run down a bit of his contract. There's maybe a bit of that in it. But realistically, the money that we're looking to spend per player is around about between 6 and 7 million. And that's just Scottish football. It's just the way that it is. You know, we can't afford to go out and spend £20 million, £15 million on a player. It's a Scottish football. It doesn't pay. You only win financially. You only get about 3.2 million for winning the league in Scotland. So until something's done about the prize money in Scotland, I mean, it's never going to happen. But we shouldn't be comparing ourselves to the ugly neighbours next door down south. And we move on for that one. So when you look at it, Brendan Rodgers' job is to make players better. And there was one nonsense headline I read yesterday that Brendan Rodgers doesn't want to bring on youth players, which is completely goes against what Brendan Rodgers actually said at the press conference yesterday. I mean, he said, look, it's my job to bring on players in the youth system. He said, you can go out and spend 5, 6, 7 million on a player when you might have that player in your academy. 5, 6, 7 million pounds worth. I mean, look at Kieran Tierney, went for 20 odd million. So yeah, that's the way it is just now with the Celtic transfers. It doesn't look like we're going to go for the Liverpool goalkeeper. I thought it was a shot in the dark, that one. Anyway, right, before we get on to the team prediction for the weekend, there's big news, and it's disappointing news for Greg Taylor. It's disappointing news for Greg Taylor because he is now out injured. Now, is this the perfect storm? Everyone's been saying, every single Celtic fan, we need a striker, a left back, and a goalkeeper. They've been saying that for about 3 transfer windows now. Now that Greg Taylor is injured, Alexandro Bernabe has to step up to the mark. Can he step out of Greg Taylor's shadow? Can he walk onto the pitch and put to bed the demons that he's had at Celtic over the last year and a bit? And will he manage to secure that place on the pitch and make it his permanent? That's a big ask for Alexandro Bernabe. He's not had the best starts to his Celtic career. I mean, he's been here for over a year now, so he should have really been pushing Greg Taylor a lot more. He has been on the bench the last couple of weeks, but is that because he's the only person that we've got to cover the left-back position? Or does Brendan Rodgers go all out at the weekend, bring back Cameron Vickers and go to a back three? Go to a back three and push Liam Scales out wide. He can cover that left position quite fantastically. I mean, he covers Greg Taylor most games when Greg Taylor's found missing the way up the park and the ball gets lobbed over the top of him. And I mean, we shouldn't slag off Greg Taylor. He's a fantastic little Scottish player. Greg will be out for a few weeks, Brendan Rodgers said. Towards the end of the game at the weekend, he felt a slight strain on his calf. So sadly, he's out, which is a shame because he's been excellent and very consistent over the course of the season so far, said Brendan Rodgers. He's played 30 times for Celtic this season, providing 2 goals and many assists across all competitions. And it's we're always one injury away from a crisis at Celtic. The media are going to be all over this with it. It's Celtic in crisis position. We've got a more than capable player in the ranks already that was brought in for good money to cover that position. So anyway, Cameron Carter-Vickers is back after struggling with his injury but since before Christmas. He is back in the team and also is the new midfielder who signed a 5.5-year deal. Yes, the German under-20s player Nico is in the team. He's in the squad. But who would Celtic drop? Who would Celtic drop to play Nico? And I can't see him fitting walking straight into the team. So let's get on to the team predictions for the weekend. And I think until yesterday, I was going to say it was going to be the same starting team as last week. But with Greg Taylor now out injured, my possible start lineup, predicted lineup, would be Hart in goals, obviously. And then there's the news that came out last night, and people breaking this news that Hart's going to leave Celtic in the summer. We all know this. We've all known it for many, many months. We've all known that he's leaving at the end of his contract. So this nonsense that is now breaking news last night in the Scottish media is just complete nonsense. They need to keep up and maybe watch this channel a bit more and some of the other Celtic channels because everyone's been talking about it. All the Celtic podcasts have been talking about the fact that Joe Hart is out of contract. He's not going to sign a new one. And it's widely known, well, it's widely talked about that he wants to go to America with his family. And you've got to remember, Joe Hart's been at Celtic for 3 years now. And his family's never been and stayed in Scotland. He travels up and down. So you've got to think about that as well. Anyway, Joe Hart's going to be in goals with Alistair Johnston, Big Rocky at the back with Scales, the two powerhouses at the back. And then with Taylor being out, Alexandro Bernabei is the only person that you could think that could walk straight into that position. Is he good enough? Well, we'll have to find out over the next couple of weeks as Greg Taylor is injured. Celtic were trying to get the Liverpool young player on loan with the obligation to buy, but that was never going to happen because Liverpool don't let young players go. As we see, they snap up young players. A bit like Atletico Madrid, they're snapping up a lot of the best young players around Europe. Yesterday, they signed an 18-year-old for 22 million. Anyway, in the middle of the park, O'Reilly, McGregor, Paulo Bernardo, Abada, and Palma on the wings, and then Kyogo up front. So it's pretty much, I think, it'll be the same team. The bench will be the interesting one to watch this weekend. The bench that Brendan Rodgers puts out, because you want the young guys to cement their place on the pitch. I think Rocco Vata is going to get played through the middle as a striker when Kyogo comes off after Celtic are maybe 3-0 up. And about the 65th minute, Rocco Vata will get to come on and play through that position through the front. It will then be interesting to see if the one and only Nico gets a chance, but who does he take off and what side of the pitch will he play on? Because we know that Nico can play on the left, right, and through the middle. Also, what if he was to bring him on for Kyogo Furiashi? Now, that would be really interesting. That would set the cat amongst the pigeons in the Celtic team. But it's anyone's guess who will make the bench this weekend. There's obviously the usual suspects that might make it, but it's a big shout for Brendan Rodgers. I think he'll be looking at the squad and saying some of these guys need game time, and we nearly need to get them in some game time before the end of the season. It's a tough one. So tell me your team in the comments. Tell me your score predictions. I'm going to go for a crazy 4-0. I'm going to go for 4-0. I think Ross County are doing absolutely terrible just now. They're way down at the bottom of the table. And I think that Celtic should easily put 4 past Ross County, quite easily. Tell me what you think your score line will be when you look at it. Celtic, yes, are still top of the table with 22 games played, 54 points on the scoreboard, and a goal difference of 38 as well. The next team down in second position has a goal difference of 33 and on 49 points. And then you go down to Ross County, who are in 11th position with 19 games. They do have a couple of games in hand, but I can't, if they were to win, I think one of them must be against, no idea actually, is it against the Sevco? Yeah, I think it is. Anyway, the Rangers, who cares? You look at Ross County, they are only on 18 points. They're a good few points above Livingston, who are rooted at the bottom of the table with that terrible plastic pitch. And I've got to say, apart from being a fantastic away day at Livingston, that pitch will not be missed in the SPFL. If they're, well, it looks like they are the team that's going to go down. Anyway, tell me your score predictions in the comments section. I'm going for 4-0. Give me your lineup in the comments section also. My lineup, I'll go over it once again, is obviously going to be with Furiashi up front. And it is going to be Hart, Johnston, Rocky, Scales, Bernaby. And it'll be interesting if he doesn't play Bernaby and he plays someone else. And or does he go to that back three that I spoke about? Does he bring Cameron McCarter Vickers back in straight away and play him beside Rocky and Scales? That would be interesting if he went to a 3-5-2 for this game, something that we spoke about before. And then that gives Rocco Vata his chance to play up beside Kyogo Furiashi. Who knows? But I don't think that will happen. I think the team will be Hart, Johnson, Rocky, Scales, Bernaby, O'Reilly, McGregor, Paolo Bernardo, Abada, Leila Abada, Kyogo Furashi, and Louis Palma. On that note, I hope you have a fantastic day, Celtic fans all around the world.